Okay. So we've covered basic forms, we've covered the skull, and now we want to dive into specifically the facial features. And the way we're going to do that is go through a portrait study of various different faces and slightly different lighting for each one, but exposing our sort of mental library to different forms and shapes, but also distilling them down into simple forms so that we can both understand how the light will affect it, depending on the form, of course, but also giving us the ability to understand the forms so we can make them bigger, smaller, stylized, pushed, stretched, squished, all that fun stuff. So let's dive in. The first reference we're going to start with is this. It is by Studio Graffiti. They have lovely reference pictures. And before I dive into painting with form and light and breaking things down in terms of geometry, we're going to do a quick drawing of the reference. It doesn't have to be too accurate. So based on our previous lessons, what we can do is simply do a cranium. So we are going to build up from the skull, or at least a simplified version of the skull. If that's the cranium, we know that there's a shape like that here. That gives us where the jaw will start. It seems to be angled down like that because it has an angle like here, like that there. And then we could push that cranium a little bit. Center line will be something like this. And then the skull rounding around like that. Then the cheekbone does something like that. It gives us position of the eyes over here. And then the nasal cavity will be somewhere right there. Gives us the ear here. Top should be a little bit higher here. And we'll use that as our base to kind of just sketch some detail on top of. New layer. Okay, so the angle of the eye, I'm just going to lay that in real quick. And these will be placeholders for now so that we know where we're going to apply the form studies, because we'll be going through understanding the form of the nose, the mouth, the eyes, and the ear in depth. But I think the best way to kind of teach that is to go through the process of doing a study and then talking about the forms of each thing. Okay, so approximately the nose will be over here. Cheekbone. The mouth is doing something like that. And I'm not thinking about form just yet. I'm just looking at the two-dimensional, 2D kind of placement of things so that we can use that as our guide. Made the jaw a little bit too low on that under drawing. Okay. And once we have this, we'll work our way through each facial feature. And I'm using straight lines and not too many curved lines to sort of just keep things low poly and simplified. All right, so I noticed that this part of the ear from this position is actually almost at eye level, but look at how low I drew that by habit. So let's go ahead and correct that. Use a lasso tool, select. Let's bring that up because he's tilting his head down, looking down. Okay. And that's good enough for now. It's like tweaks here. Collarbone. Anyway, yeah, it's good enough for now. Let's actually lower the opacity of the underdrawing. and then lower the opacity of this.